So the top 16 drivers for this race are Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc, Ocon, Stroll, Albon, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Perez, Verstappen, Sainz, 13th is unknown, Norris, Kvyat, and then Gas. Unfortunately, I couldn't record qualifying, so those were the top 16 drivers that I could get, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but on we go with the video now. And here we go, revving up to... the lights are going to go off soon. Here we go, revving up to 5. Red lights, Hamilton's on pole, and it's lights out, and away we go. Here we go, coming into turn 1, Hamilton gets a strong start, as does Bottas. Vettel stuck in the slipstream. He goes to the outside of Valtteri Bottas, but Bottas squeezes him off. Hamilton leads the race from Bottas, and the Mercedes are very strong at this track, after strong qualifying from both of them. And Hamilton is pulling away in that lead already, as Vettel is actually very close to Bottas, surprisingly, but Hamilton's going to do his best job, and that is Albon going side by side with, I believe that's Sergio Perez, or no, that might be Lance Stroll, sorry, who did have a better qualifying than Perez. Yes, it is Lance, and that is Kimi Raikkonen coming up behind them now, who also had a great qualifying given where his Alpha is, and now they're going to go 3 wide down the straight. Perez looking for a way to get past. Kimi's on the inside. Albon breaks the latest as Kimi had a very tight angle there, and that means that Ocon's gotten in front. As Kimi just had such a tight angle to the corner that he had to brake so much earlier, given his car doesn't really have the grip to turn in at an angle that tight. But anyways, Albon gets in front of Stroll as he broke later into the corner, and Stroll stuck on the outside, but then Stroll held it on the straight, and he's still holding it, and they're still side by side. Stroll on the inside, surely not down the inside of Alex Albon. Albon holds it on the outside, and that means back on the inside of the next corner, he's going to have the inside, and that superior grip of that Red Bull means he's up into 6th place. He's up in 6th place. That is Ocon way up in front, and that was Ricciardo who overtook Kimi. And that's Verstappen, who's made some decent places up from P11, and the reason Verstappen started down in P11 was because unfortunately, rain came out at the very end of qualifying, meaning a lot of drivers didn't get to set final laps in qualifying. Of course, their first laps were simply not good enough, and that's Verstappen, who's making good progress here. He's on the harder compound tire and clean around the outside of Kimi Raikkonen. Surely not. What a move on Kimi. Is that up into, I think, 9th place now, Max Verstappen. So it's a good start. Couple places gained, and looks like Kimi might have locked up, or it might have been Max. But great driving from Max Verstappen to get up a couple places here. And that Red Bull, and he goes off track there, going a little bit wide. But yes, Max unfortunately was caught out in the rain as he was about to set what looked like it was going to be an absolutely stunning lap. But in Sector 1 and 2 was great until Sector 3, the rain was just too much, and he could not improve on his P11. You can see the two McLarens are close to each other, which is also very interesting as they qualified very close to each other as well. And that's the Williams there, and now we see Hamilton holding that lead on Bottas and Vettel. They're holding a pretty steady gap, but Ocon is staying with Leclerc, which is very interesting, and Stroll is now struggling to stay in front of Daniel Ricciardo in that Renault, who's currently, I believe, best for the rest of the championship, or at least very close to it, as he's had some pretty decent races. Sorry, that is Ricciardo. And Stroll, who had a pretty good qualifying, he had the timing right, and he set a good first lap. So Lance Stroll doing a decent job at the moment in 7th place. But it looks like Ricciardo will get past him pretty soon, as Verstappen is trying to catch up to them, but he's not catching up to them at the speed that we expect. Of course, those mediums are not going to be as grippy as those softs, and it's going to be hard work to just try and catch up to them from Max Verstappen. He's going to have to really push on that set of tires, and for the sake of his championship, you know, every time it looks like he could catch a break. It looks like once again it's happened in qualifying, just like China. He was caught out, and he's starting way down the grid. And it has cost him this race. We can see Hamilton holding that lead on Bottas. He's not really pulling a gap, but he is keeping that gap pretty steady. So Bottas can actually overtake him even if he does get DRS, and Bottas has pulled a nice little gap on Sebastian Vettel now, who's been struggling. Hamilton with that nice purple helmet holding that lead in the Silver Arrow. And this is going to be great for his championship after an alright race in Baku. It was Max who came out with maximum points that race, and Lewis is going to want to come back in this championship. Although he is actually leading it at the moment, he's still going to want to pull that gap as much as he can as he pulls away from Valtteri Bottas, and Esteban Ocon is now losing a lot of time to Charles Leclerc, and it doesn't really surprise me, you know. Leclerc being in the Ferrari, the Renault is just not nearly as quick, and Verstappen moves at the back end as he goes on the curb. But he is actually catching up to Stroll and Ricciardo, who are battling. Not battling, but they are very close to each other, and Albon is pulling away from them, but not at the pace I think you might expect. And yes, Max is catching them. I do believe he is within DRS, or at least he will be in the DRS. And that's Kimi holding Perez behind quite brilliantly, I must say. Kimi is doing a great job, and I don't know if he's going to score points today, but it would certainly mean a lot for him and for the Alfa Romeo team. And that's Sergio Perez going to the outside. Kimi Räikkönen defending to the inside. Sergio Perez late on the brakes, round the outside of Kimi Räikkönen. That was a brilliant move by Sergio Perez. And Kimi's going to try and come back in on the next turn, but he's got no answer for him. What a move by Sergio Perez. Aggressive driving like we like seeing from Sergio, and it's just amazing to see that from Sergio. Just broke later. Of course, Kimi's been struggling as whenever he's trying to defend into that corner or even attack into it, he tends to have to go very slow because his car just doesn't have the grip to turn in at such a tight angle. And Kimi's just been struggling with turning in at such a tight angle, and Perez just went right around the outside. Here's Bottas with DRS. He's close to Hamilton, but unfortunately Lewis is just doing a great job of defending. And on the subject of that, Hamilton locks up a mistake by Lewis Hamilton, and that's allowed Bottas to catch right back up. And here comes Valtteri Bottas to the inside. This is the battle for the lead of the race. Valtteri Bottas down the inside. And Hamilton's mistake has cost him. It's cost him the lead of the race. That is very much not like Hamilton at all to make a mistake like that, but yeah. And we have seen that is Valtteri Bottas, I believe, was pit first, and of course he was in front, so that does make sense. A lot of drivers are pitting, and that is Max Verstappen, who made a dive bomb in the final corner on Lance Stroll, and he's made the overtake work quite brilliantly, as now he's really gonna have to push on this overcut and do everything he can to make these tires work, and to make the strategy work, because if he can make up as much time as possible, as long as he doesn't lose time on this set of tires, or at least not lose too much time, he will be able to really chase down the guys on the softs and not waste so much time overtaking. You can see with that helicopter shot just how much quicker Max was through that section of corners. Of course, Stroll in third year, and Max really getting the most out of his tires now, as Stroll's are probably pretty worn, and Max did go off track a couple times back there, has to be said. But yes, Max Verstappen doing a great job in this race. And that is side by side with, I believe that's Antonio Giovinazzi and Daniel Kvyat, and that's Giovinazzi being caught up by the Haas now. Kimi is having a much better race. Of course, he did have a much better qualifying. And that's Grosjean in his home Grand Prix. A ballsy move down the inside. They make a bit of contact. Down the inside goes Romain Grosjean, and it's a nice overtake from Romain Grosjean, has to be said. Usually he does not make these kind of overtakes, so it's good for him. But now Bottas on a new, fresh set of tires. He's not stuck in traffic or anything. And he's going to do what he can. I believe that's Charles Leclerc behind him, and I believe they've put Charles Leclerc on the hard tires. Ferrari not confident in the tire wear of their car, and they believe the hards will work better for them. I'm not sure if that's really the best strategy to go with. Personally, I would gamble on the mediums, but if they believe the hards are going to be faster, they can do whatever they like. And this is Valtteri Bottas now coming down the straight. And yes, I do believe he's come out in the lead. No, he's not. That's Vettel who's overtaken him, and so is Hamilton. And they've overtaken by a massive margin. A huge margin. The overcut was the way to go, and not only was it the way to go, they pulled a massive gap on Valtteri Bottas. A good 5 seconds there, maybe even more, possibly. At least Hamilton's a bit more. And look, and it's not like Bottas was really in too much traffic. He was in a bit at the beginning, and he was possibly held in the pits a little bit, but Valtteri Bottas just couldn't get the most out of these mediums at the start, and that's allowed Hamilton's overcut to work brilliantly. Now he has the lead of the race as Vettel is doing a great job, has to be said, given how slow that Ferrari is, to be able to keep up with Lewis Hamilton. But you know, at the end of the day, it's Lewis who has the lead, and it's a brilliant lead for him. And based off Vettel's pace, I'm not even sure if Bottas will be able to actually catch up and overtake Sebastian Vettel. But Lewis does have this lead, and he's going to try and keep it. He's gotten a second chance in this race, and he's got to do everything he can to win the race. Here he goes down the straight. And that is, I believe, Max Verstappen who's pulled into the pits on his set of mediums. And here he comes out of the pits, Verstappen. Verstappen, is that Max Verstappen or is it Albon? It's Albon. Albon has made some great inroads on Leclerc, and unfortunately Albon's been put on the hards as well, and the hards was the wrong strategy. That's the wrong strategy. Perhaps he used up all those mediums, or he shredded them in qualifying or something, because that is the wrong strategy. He pit way after Leclerc did, and unfortunately that just hasn't worked out for him. For Albon, but he has caught up to Leclerc by quite a lot. It seems his overcuts are working very well for these drivers. Anyways, back to Verstappen, who's also pits, and here he goes on Danny Ricciardo squeezing him to the inside. Max Verstappen sends it down the inside. Great defense by Ricciardo, has to be said, on his former teammate. He really squeezed him to the apex, and it meant that Max did actually go very wide and nearly pushed Ricciardo off the track as he made that overtake. But of course, as I mentioned, talking about earlier, the overcut seems to be the strategy that's working the best for these drivers today on this track, as it's clearly helped Max, as he's also put on the mediums. So I'm really not sure what Red Bull were sorry, he's put on the softs, because of course he was on a different strategy. So now he's chasing down his teammate despite starting 4 places behind him. He is now caught up to him, and it has to be said, just like China, he started way behind his teammate, and he caught up to him, and now once again he started some ways behind his teammate, and he is caught up to him. And he's within DRS. Look at the pace advantage Max has got. Will they order Albon to tell Albon to go through? I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it, because Albon is chasing down Charles Leclerc. He's quicker than Leclerc. And of course that overcut worked brilliantly, because now Albon's on fresher tires than Leclerc. And so that means Albon's going to be chasing down Leclerc, but Max is also going to be chasing down Albon. And here comes Verstappen through these quick corners. He's taking a bit of a wider line so he can get a stronger exit out the corner with the DRS on the long straight. Will he be able to overtake Albon? Albon defends to the inside. Verstappen goes to the outside. Albon to the inside. Max outbreaks him by an absolute mile. Very late braking from Max. We saw Albon actually darted over a little bit. Maybe he was actually letting Max through. If we saw earlier, he did actually move aggressively to the left under braking. I'm not too sure why he's done that, but maybe he wants to give Max more space or something. But either way, Max super late on the brakes. Of course, his tires are helping, and of course, it has to be said, his driving is helping, as Verstappen's done a great job. And that is Sergio Perez chasing down Lance Stroll, because Stroll has been put on the hards, but Perez was put on the mediums. Possible favoritism by Racing Point or something, maybe different strategy, because now It's Stroll on the hards, who was way in front of Perez earlier in this race, and now Perez is going to hunt him down, as the mediums are going to be the quicker tire in this race, surely. Stroll, has to be said, has had a pretty decent season up to this point after lots of criticism after 2019, and just in general, he usually gets a lot of criticism as Max goes off the track there, as he's chasing down Leclerc, and this is for 4th place from P11 to P4. It's not a bad drive, but given the Mercedes are running 1-3, his 2 championship contenders, 2 championship rivals, it's not amazing for Max. And now Verstappen on the soft tires, chasing down Leclerc on the hard tires. And with the DRS, surely he'll get past Leclerc pretty quickly. And that's actually, I think that's Valtteri Bottas not too far up ahead. And Leclerc locks up! Leclerc makes this small mistake, and Max is all over him. He nearly goes into the back of him to the outside, but Verstappen hasn't quite got the straight line speed. Maybe he can use his overtake button to try and get past Leclerc here, as he'll want to pass him as soon as possible. They're side by side. This is what we want to see, Leclerc versus Verstappen. And Leclerc comes out on top. Leclerc came out on top there. That was a big surprise. And Max cuts the corner there, but he's lost actually quite a bit of time as he does that. And I think he just did it to avoid crashing with Leclerc. But that is surprising that Leclerc came out on top in that battle. And that means Max's tires, this better performance in them is just not going to last for much longer as he sends it down the inside. And again, nearly goes to the back of Leclerc. Here he is. You can see on the steering wheel. He's using the overtake. He's using up all of his battery. He fakes one way, goes the other way. It's Leclerc. He wanted to go down the inside. Leclerc defended incredibly hard. Max Verstappen round the outside of turn 1. Late on the brakes. And up into 4th place he goes. An incredible battle. For 4th. But yeah, surely Max will now pull away. And actually, this is an interesting battle because now I think Albon has overtaken Ocon, and I think Ricciardo is chasing down Ocon because I think Ocon was put on the hards and I think Ricciardo was put on the mediums, although I cannot confirm that yet. But anyway, Stroll is being caught very fast by Perez because Perez was put on the better tire. As now they go down the straight. Perez is in the DRS. Stroll's going defensive. Perez catches up a lot on that straight, but it's not quite enough to make an overtake. And he's very close to Stroll, putting all the pressure on Lance now. Will Lance crack under the pressure, or will he just lose the place just in general? Because Perez is so much faster at this stage of the race, being on the better tire. And here goes Perez. No, he's not quite close enough. And Perez is very close to Stroll right now. He's all over his tail. I mean, there's really the racing points have been in no man's land this race because they're faster than everybody behind them, but they're slower than everybody in front of them. Anyways, here goes Perez. He's got the DRS, but he's lost a lot of time on that final corner. Stroll, a great exit out of there. And it means that Perez can't quite catch up enough. He's sparking away there on the straight, but it's not... sparks do not give you straight line speed. And he's very close to Stroll, but... Let's look at the racing points are running really low ride height because both of them are sparking away a lot more than really any other car. Or at least I've only noticed it for the racing point. And Perez, once again, he's the same distance from Stroll. Stroll can keep up this great defending. Perez might not actually be able to pass him. It has to be said, this is some great defending from Lance, given that Perez is at the same distance he was last lap. And that's the two McLarens battling, well, at least they're pretty close to each other. Some ways behind the racing points, though. They are a little bit too far back to really become a threat for them. You can see Perez is so much faster. It would be logical to just let him through, but really, there's nothing to gain up front, so I'm pretty sure they're just going to let the racing points race each other, because there's no gain or loss if they do. They're just in the middle of nowhere, as long as they don't crash, of course. Now Perez going to open up DRS once again. On the straight. Will he be able to make this move? He's right up behind Stroll, but it's not enough. Once again, Perez can't overtake Stroll, and he's just stuck behind him. But he's closer, I think, than last lap. But he's going to have to really push through this complex of corners, so he can be very close through the DRS. See how much he's gaining through some of these lower speed corners, as the mechanical grip in that car, well, at least with those tires, is a lot more, as now they go onto the straight. As Perez is about to open up the DRS. Is he going to be closer? Oh, he's closer than he was last time. Stroll's go defensive. Perez down the inside. And he's made the move before even the braking starts. And it's a move by Sergio Perez to get in front of his teammate, and it's a good one too. And a great move by the pink Mercedes of Sergio Perez. As now he pulls away from Lance Stroll. And on the final lap of the race, Sergio Perez was able to get it done on Lance Stroll. And by the way, I didn't mention earlier, Lewis Hamilton actually did not finish in this race. He got an engine problem earlier in this race, and that would be a massive blow to his championship. As I believe after this race, it's Valtteri Bottas who's going to lead. It's very unfortunate for Lewis Hamilton, after what was looking like a race that he was easily going to win. That DNF did not help. But anyways, it's Vettel who actually wins the race from Valtteri Bottas in P2, and then Max Verstappen from P11 takes P3.